All right, Ethlyn.
Okay, thank you. Ready to go? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this, our um, live conference on agriculture. We are the Jamaican Diaspora Agricultural and Climate Task Force. And this evening with us, I have Paul Lyons, Vice Chair of the Task Force, Agricultural Task Force, and myself, Ethelyn Thomas. I am the Chair. Also, we have in the background Cheryl Murray Powell and Andrea Bryan, and they are members of the task force. So, we just want to welcome everyone. We have our panelists this evening. We have Dr. Lisa Myers, Joseph Small from 4-H Club, Nicholas Shirley, Phillips from Resource Farm, Dr. Rimple, Rimple Marsh, I would say, former Dean of College of Agriculture, Science and Technology, Delaware University. And we have Danelia, Peter Gay, and Shamua. And these are young people who are involved or who have been recipients of scholarships and also who have taken on board some of the resources available to them in agriculture. So, youth in agriculture, the way forward, that's our topic for this evening. So, we're looking at scholarships, entrepreneurships, opportunities, and resources for agriculture students in Jamaica. And we'll term them as young people. Okay, so without any further ado, let me introduce, first of all, Dr. Lisa Myers. Um, I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's currently a volunteer and director on the board of Kevoy Community Development Institute, Regional Farm Management and Community Development Training Facilitator, and that's based in Jamaica. She has served as the Principal Research Director for the Research and Development Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, and she has been with them for over 25 years. Um, well, she has over 25 years experience in agriculture research. She has served as national coordinator on several regional and national projects founded by the FAO and the IEA. She provides technical and science advice to the Agriculture Ministry and its stakeholders in plant health, food, and nutrition security. She is currently on second amendment to the Agricultural and Development Authority, that's RADA, as a principal director with technical services. Dr. Myers possesses a Doctor of Plant Medicine degree, and this was from the University of Florida Gainesfield, a Master in Botany, and Bachelor in Natural Science, majoring in biochemistry. Welcome, Dr. Myers. Happy to have you this evening.
Thank you.
Next, we have no other than Dr. Dalrymple Marsh. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Marsh. He proclaimed to be a quiet person, but I don't think so. Okay. So, Dr. Marsh has a broad range of accomplishments. He wears several hats. So, he have accomplishment in research, extension, and education. Beyond undergraduate and graduate degrees in plant and soil science from Tuskegee University in Alabama. Dr. Marsh holds a PhD in horticulture from the University of Minnesota. His educational training has led him to administrative position in teaching, research, and extension at 1890 land grant universities in Missouri and the Delaware University. Um, he has contributed significantly in providing academic and administrative performance at the universities where he worked. His work with international institutions has allowed him to forge several partnerships and enhance the global outreach of the universities and their study abroad program. So, Dr. Marsh also was a farmer 4-H'er himself, and I bet he'll tell us a little bit about that later on. And he has been active in 4-H and youth development initiative most of his life. He believes that all extension programs should contain some youth component focused to foster a healthier, better educated future. And another thing which I won't leave out, he has also been an advocate for all students and a mentor to those pursuing degrees in agriculture, including some who received national awards for their research presentation. Welcome, Dr. Marsh. We're happy to have you this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome. Next, we have Joseph Small, Mr. Joseph Small. So, Joseph Small, he is National Youth in Agriculture Committee Chairman over 7 years at the Jamaica 4-H Club. He's also involved in the agriculture and agro-processing arena ever since he had known himself. Currently a senior manager at the CB Group. He is a president at the Dental Technical High School, past student association, and also a board member. Mr. Small is also vice chair of the National Food Standards Technical Committee, third vice president of the Authorized Economic Operator Program, and he's also professional and leadership in business management, quality system, food safety system, and so on. He's also a youth leader. Welcome, Mr. Joseph Small. Joseph?
You're muted.
Okay.
Very much, Ethelyn Thomas,
Yeah.
panelist, and all the listeners there in cyberspace.
You're most welcome. Next, we have Nicola. Welcome, Nicola. So I'll tell you a little bit about Nicola here. She's actually the founder and an executive director of the established Caribbean organic farm. It's called Source Farm. Yeah. Right. So welcome, Nicola. We're happy to have you. And also she wears a lot of hats as well. She has been and is the regenerative agroforestry. She's involved in, the regenerative agroforestry breadfruit project, Natural Farmer Distribution Center, the Source Farm Foundation, and HAMP, Eco Village, and she is presently the founder and the executive director. And of course, she'll tell us a bit more later on. She's also involved in a lot of school projects where she works along with young people. And also, actually, Daniela is from her mentorship, from under her mentorship. So later we'll learn a bit more about her. So a little bit on the flip side, we have 3 talented young people this evening. We have Shamora, Peter Gay, and Daniela. And later on, we'll be talking to them about, what had motivated them and what have kept them in the agricultural industry. And they're also recipients of various programs. Daniela is from the 1-1 Cocoa Basket that has to do with the resource farm in Nicola, and Peter Gay and Shamora, they're recipients of the Afana scholarships. So without further ado, and I'm not going to take up much of your time, I will hand over to Paul, who will take it from here. Paul, there you go.
Thank you very much, Ethelyn. Welcome to all our panelists and all the support that we have behind the scenes that is making this event really go forward. As I was saying to the panelists before we came online, there is really a need for us to dissect some of what is potentially happening within the agriculture industry. An old farmer myself, I would love for us to be able to address things such as food security, to help us understand what we need to do to optimize production in what we're doing. And I think very, very important for us is to understand where those scholarships are. How can our students access these different scholarships? And at the end of the day, how can we enhance agricultural production? How can we keep the brilliant minds that we have, we're developing, and then we're losing them? What do we need to do? How can we change the trajectory that we're currently on? It almost seems as if we continue to produce workers. How can we turn some of these workers into entrepreneurs? And that is really what we hope to achieve. I have a standard set of questions to start off with. And so based on how my screen is, that's how I will sort of direct those questions. And the first question I have was, from your own standpoint, panelists, what are some of the most challenging issues that Jamaica agriculture face, and how should we address each? So from my screen, I have Joseph first. Joseph, and we're just going to run through. So please unmute yourself and let's hear. You're still muted, Joseph. Great.
I'm sorry about that. Well, regarding the most challenging things in the agricultural sector in Jamaica at this time, that's a rather interesting question. And I suppose I could throw up many things that are very challenging for the agricultural sector. But I would want to probably highlight three of what I think are the more important ones. Accessibility to land for persons in the agricultural sector is a particularly challenging area for persons. How could we deal with this matter? I would suppose that an agricultural land policy could be a significant driver in where we farm, how we farm, and to get the most productive land into the hands of the farmers. And in this instance, mainly the youth, whom I think are ripe and ready to go. We would also need to be very mindful of where we plant houses and rather plant crops and rear animals, food animals, that will cause us to be more food secure. Currently, we import probably 4 times as much as we export. And the food bill is rather significant in that regard. If I were to go to a second very important and challenging area for our farmers, again, especially the youth, is the availability of appropriate financing because once you have those lands and they are appropriate, you also would need seed capital to ensure that you can set out to implement what is in your business plan. And financing is an awesome task that needs to be challenged. Yes, there are some available resources, but not in sufficient quantity. And maybe it is not at a rate that will encourage people. But if I were to go further, the accessibility and the things required to get those loans sometimes are very onerous for the farmers, and I dare say for our youth farmers.
Joseph, thank you very much for that. I want to move on. I know Dr. Marsh's position, but this is something that the panelists could think about. Our agriculture minister last week, Saturday, at a forum, talked about the 50-acre land that will be available to farmers. And I want us to build on that a little bit further, Joseph, maybe when we get to the open forum, because that's an important thing. To me, it sounds great, but based on the challenges, are our young entrepreneurs, are our poorer farmers going to have access to that land? So that's something that I think we should explore a little bit further. Dr. Marsh, you're next up on my screen. So I understand you're a professional, and so I want, from a professional standpoint, who I know you haven't lived and practiced as much in Jamaica, but I'm sure over the years you have your views on what. So let us limit it to 2 points now so that we can have a full flowing discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But first, I'd like to say thanks to the Diaspora Taskforce for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this esteemed panel. Yes, you are correct. I've not lived in Jamaica for quite a while, and therefore it's very hard for me to interject myself into Jamaican politics, but I will try. There are some general factors that affect are challenging to agriculture worldwide, and it also applies in Jamaica. And the one brought out earlier, the economics of it is significant. Climate is also of great significance, and the world economy, what's affecting the supply chain, because the production costs increase, and therefore it eliminates a lot of farmers who want to get into farming just because of the cost of production. And the environment, of course, look, we live in Jamaica, we have a year-round climate that we can plant crops. However, we don't have soil that support the planting of these crops without added inputs for a significant added input. But the point I'd like to stress more is that farming needs the attention of the politicians. And I would ask the Diaspora Taskforce to make sure they get in the head of the minister on a regular basis to point out the need for support of the higher education community and the other governmental agencies that support agricultural research. Because without research answering the question that comes from academia and from farmers to get answers, and that is research, independent research that is peer-reviewed and can be depended upon. If you don't have support, financial support from the government to do that, it won't be done. And farmers are not going to be able to come out of their pockets with any funds to support things like that. Research is costly, research is risky, but research must be done in order to get answers that's necessary to improve crop production. Another factor, just for 1 sec, another factor I'd like to point out to, in too long, our brightest minds are steered away from agriculture. That should stop, because all the disciplines within the sciences help to make a productive and successful agriculture system.
Yeah.
That must stop, because if we don't, we are shortchanging agriculture. And how would we shortchange the science that feeds us, clothes us, and give us energy? I think we should pay attention to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Marsh. Again, while the diaspora group tries to stay politically neutral, what we do is we do work along with these different agencies. And so just for those who are listening, the diaspora group, JD Tan, has 3 different groups working with the education sector. I should point out as well that the Honorable Minister, Dr. Audley Shaw, who is the Minister for Agriculture, he very clearly outlined that he was in the 4-H as a youth. And so we expect that he understands some of these challenges and will be able to provide some help. Let us move to Nicola Phillips. Thank you for joining us. The same question applies regarding the challenge. Two are the challenges that stand out for you.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thanks again for having me on this very important webinar and program. I think when I look at the question, I think one of the things for us is, and just looking at from an organic and a regenerative system, is like I think Jamaica, we've been very slow to pivot to addressing some of the issues. And I say that because there's been a number over the last, I would say 10, 15 years since I've been back in Jamaica, there's been a number of different companies or agencies or different opportunities that have come our way in terms of organic or regenerative projects. And it's fallen on deaf ears and we've never been able to pick them up, whether it's for local production systems or even for opportunities for export. We have not done it. So I say we're very slow to pivot, and that's one of the things that are one of our challenges here in Jamaica. We've been kind of stuck in a particular methodology of doing business. The other issue, I think what's driving our agriculture sector to have many problems is that we're plagued with too many imports. So when people see that, it's more of a logistics game versus really focusing on agriculture. And many other people who are supposed to be responsible for the health and wealth of the island in terms of food production, they're playing that logistic game of importing instead of encouraging us to, and creating systems for us to be able to look at the fact that we have a 12-month growing season. So it's easier for us to kind of click on some buttons and do that import instead of working with our farmers, helping us to pivot and learn new systems that will address this the issues we have in terms of agriculture. So those are two of the things that I have come up. And also one of the things too about lack of current data on how to do, we've been kind of, I would say since the whole, let's say colonialization period and getting out of that, we've been a very extractive system. Everything is to extract and take out, but we're not looking at a regenerative system and how we can. We have a lot of tourists that come here every year. We're not looking at what we can do, and we're missing the boat on many opportunities. So those are the things that I see in terms of why we're facing so many challenges here in Jamaica.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicola. Daniela, you are in the farming yourself. You're working with your family on Maccabee Enterprise, which also means that you're in the honey making thing. What are some of the challenges that you are facing? Tell us two of the challenges that that you're currently facing.
Okay, hello, thanks for having me. I can relate to all of the problems and solutions. The first thing that comes to mind, I mean, I've written a whole heap of challenges, but this one, distraction with a lot of opportunities. For me as a farmer, I'm both beekeeping and organic farming. I know what I want to do, and there are all of these programs. But if I go to, say, the bank or 4-H or any one of these persons and I said, this is what I want to do, they're not really, what's the word? They don't really want to shift from their, this is the program they have to kind of accommodate me and my program. So they're always telling me that this is here, this is there, this is there, and I have to shape myself to fit into their program and not really the other way around. So that is a big problem for me as a young farmer. The other thing would be marketing. I do a lot of value-added products to offset when there isn't enough honey, when the crop isn't in because of a drought period, or production isn't up where we can push out 1,000 items each month and have a secure market for that. So we want to be able to have smaller markets where persons know that we have a set of honey, and it's not all the time, but when there's a honey flow, we're able to have those things in stock. So the market and again, distraction with opportunities and not shaping to fit us. But those are my two.
Thank you very much. Before we have Dr. Myers, who is sandwiched between Peter Gay and Shamora. So we're going to go to Peter Gay Stewart. Based on our discussion before, Peter Gay said that she has recently graduated from CASE. So Peter Gay, tell us, what do you identify as some of those challenges? Two from you, please.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to represent our youth. I'm happy you skewed the question in that direction, because that's the point or the challenge that I really want to highlight is really the few job opportunities that are available to educated graduates. The CASE is a College of Agriculture, Science, and Education. So we have three faculties. Well, CASE has three faculties, right? But the agriculture faculty has the most students. So every year you have, close to 100 students graduating from the Faculty of Agriculture from CASE. And I must tell you that many of the graduates do not leave CASE and take on agricultural jobs because there are limited opportunities for youth in the agricultural sector. So you find that they branch into banking, some branch into IT and different sectors. So we have all of these experts, quote unquote, but there are limited opportunities for them to really contribute to the sector meaningfully. So that is one of the challenges. And I can tell you, because I have batchmates who, a lot of my batchmates are not working in the agricultural sector. Why? Because there are just limited opportunities. And they will tell you that if it is that an opportunity comes for them to migrate, they're going to take it. You know what? And they tell me, Peter, again, I'm not loyal to Jamaica because he has studied and I just can't find a job. I love agriculture. I want to do agriculture, but the opportunities are just limited. And it goes back to, I think, a point that I think it was Mr. Small made earlier. A lot of my batchmates and colleagues and other youth who I know who are in agriculture want to pursue agriculture, but they're faced with challenges. They have excellent ideas and they have excellent business plans, but guess what? there is no capital, they have no access to land. And this also leads to my next point, which is also access to information. I know that there are some opportunities available in Jamaica, but not a lot of young people know about them. And that is really one of the greatest challenges. I know the Jamaica 4-H Club has a lot of programs. You have the reprogram, which allows you to start your agribusiness, and the Jamaica 4-H clubs will provide you with a start, a push start, but not a lot of young people know about this. So the challenge is few job opportunities in the sector for young people and access to information.
Thank you very much. There are some excellent points that we have looked at so far: opportunity, lack of data. I see coming in from there is another one I want to add that we can discuss a little bit further on, and that has to do with predial larceny. That was one of the questions that came from our YouTube, one of our YouTube listeners. Dr. Myers, same question for you.
Well, based on my role in the research arena, one of the challenges that we have found is in terms of identifying and recruiting the requisite skill sets needed to do the research that is required in the industry. And that leads us to our institutions in terms of preparing our young people, and also in terms of mentorship of our young people, in terms of having that interest in doing research, investigations. One of the strategies that we have been doing in the ministry, especially through the Research and Development Division, is actually to have what we call work experience being offered to our students, especially from CASE, right? And also from our agriculture high schools. So we have engaged students and exposed them to various aspects of research work that we're doing within the division. It's interesting listening to Peter Gay in terms of the lack of opportunities for graduates when they leave CASE, which speaks to a concern in terms of the preparedness of students in terms of going into entrepreneurship. We spoke about access to financing for our young people. What are the options that they do have? I know that with regards to the Ministry of Agriculture, the Agro Invest Corporation, it was mentioned about some land being made available. It's actually 250 acres of government land that has been designated for youth to have the opportunity to lease these lands. And the criteria include them having gone to a training institution, having said plan, having a product that they believe can be successful, and identifying or knowing what sort of market that they would like to have this product enter. And as far as I understand, the AIC does provide that sort of support in terms of guidance for those youth. I think there are about 50, a little over 50 youth who have been engaged in that process. I want to add to, going back to the research aspect, for years, the Research and Development Division of the ministry has had the responsibility of managing 5 agriculture research stations with limited input. Basically, it's a salaries budget, but across the world, we recognize that government input into especially public research institutions has dwindled over the years. And it requires a different approach in terms of partnerships. And interestingly, Dr. Marsh had mentioned about this Red Stripe project. And I wanted to mention that with respect to the young people that were engaged in this particular project, where Red Stripe partnered with the Ministry of Agriculture, meaning the research division, and also engaged postgraduate students from the UWI to conduct various research activities with regards to identifying cassava varieties that would be more suitable for their beer production. And that particular model was successful in terms of the output and the type of information that came from that Red Stripe could use in its, its formulation and in its production of beer. And I think that's a model that we need to look more into in terms of how can we have these partnerships, engaging the youth. I mean, I believe in the whole, the combination of research, extension, and education, and utilizing more of the government resources in terms of facilitating this sort of triad, and also the engagement with our extra-regional partners in seeing how we can actually engage our youth more, especially as it relates to the research aspect. And, Dr. Marsh and the team from Delaware State, they were actually part of that process. They were brought in under ACDI VOCA to facilitate this research training and basic research methodology. All of that was part of this integrated approach. And I think this is something that we need to look at. There are funding opportunities through various development partners that we can actually tap into to facilitate more of our youth being able to do the higher research, the higher studies, in terms of postgraduate work, to see how they can really impact real life challenges or more applied research. That is what is needed, applied research. And there are several opportunities. We have had young people come through the research division, and they're now working in private sector, right? They have been able to sort of go through the fire, as I would put it, in terms of knowing how to overcome some of those real life challenges, working with the limited resources. And I know one or two are on this platform, right? Right. And I think that we can realize these partnerships as it relates to supporting our youth and facilitating the various avenues for their entrepreneurial interests, and also for them to be able to contribute more to our country. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Myers. There are a lot of things that we're gonna try and address. So let us shift over to Shamora. Shamora, welcome. Can you answer the same question that we've posed? What's the challenge? So we're not getting Shamora. So we're just gonna.
Pardon me, Miss Alliance. I think that she needs access to unmute. The host will not allow her to unmute.
Oh, we should be host.
You have her?
Come on. We're gonna
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Shamora. Please go ahead.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for having me. I was wondering if the universe was really showing me a sign that I really don't need to say anything else after all these valuable points. But what I want to say is really that I am concerned about the future of agriculture, where there is no youth, there is no future. And what is currently going on is still the move or wave of the negative perception of youth or from youths in agriculture. And I've seen where even in institutions where agriculture is still being seen as a punishment. When you look at certain high schools, whenever the children or the students are disobedient, whenever they're rude, they're quick to send the child on the farm. They're quick to have the child doing things that are agriculture related, and this is so wrong. Another thing that I am really, really concerned about is the lack of mentorship within the agriculture sector. So you have a lot of experts. They are in their mid-age, they're much older than we are as youths. And what you find is that they have a lot of knowledge stored on the inside. And there are a lot of us young people here, we just need that transfer of knowledge, because when they move on, then somebody else will have to step to the plate. When I was a student at CASE, we have gone through our courses, we have gotten our degrees, and yes, they are theoretically based, but when it comes on to the hands-on work, when it comes on to the level of competence that we ought to have, I see where that is lacking. So these are some of the things that we need to address as agriculturists.
Thank you very much, Shamora. You know what? When I went to College of Agriculture, we had land that we couldn't farm. It was, you're at an agricultural institution and we didn't know how to farm that land. We did have someone who came by. We're talking about 2-to-1 expanding Mount Marilynite clay. So very, very dry in the summer months. And then you can't walk in it when it rains. And we did get someone who was able to come in. Lloyd Bailey came in and he said, yes, man, I know how to do that. And so if we're able to identify and address some of those issues, I think that is great. So it's another great point that is coming through is, and this is from our from our Facebook page. The question, and this is from someone from CASE. So what are the main reasons for the low job opportunities available locally? Any one of the panelists want to respond to that question? What are the main reasons for low job opportunities? Any takers?
Can I take that one?
Sure, go ahead, Nicole.
Well, at least let me talk about the organic sector, because it's interesting that we're saying people are looking for jobs when constantly we have to be bringing in people from Earth University in Costa Rica, or people are asking, different people are returning home, or people are living in Jamaica that want to do a conversion to organic. There is no one to work. So literally I have to say, well, you have to bring somebody in from the US that understands organic farming, when we should be doing this training in Jamaica and being able to afford to be able to work in our own backyards. And so it's kind of interesting right now, if anyone calls me, and people call me every single week, they want to go into organic farming, they want to make the conversion. And I said, well, who's going to work? Who do you have? There's no managers, there's no staff people, there's no one. And yet, so we're saying that we're looking at this employment issue. And I think part of it comes back to our institutions have not pivoted to be able to look at where is the sector going? Where are we going to be able to know that in a couple of years, more people are going to move into this, and making sure that there's people that are trained up. So a lot of times I end up having to do training, which really Source Farm was not designed to do that, but we've had to just to be able to try to accommodate folks. Right now we have a research station. I have about 5 farms that are looking for people, whether in the management or basic labor, but we have no one that's trained in that development, in that area, to be able to get employment. So it's interesting that we're talking about this, but we have to look at what time it is, and there's no one trained up in Jamaica right now to take on any of these levels of positions. And when is that going to change?
So that brings up something why we have someone like Nicola sitting at the table, because what this diaspora group is doing is helping young people, young entrepreneurs, to make connection. And so here is a wonderful opportunity, Peter Gay, Shamora, and all those who are listening in on Facebook or on YouTube, that here is an opportunity. But let us go back to something else. Peter Gay talked about it. 100 students leaving case. Overall, 300 per year is about the number. 100 agriculturalists leaving case. What we what we'd love to see is not 100 workers leaving case, but 100 who some are going to go into research. And there's a question there that I want to leave for Dr. Marsh and Dr. Myers. What are we researching? So that would be the next thing. And then the next thing is, where are the entrepreneurs? And we talk about land. I want to say that the 50 acre was a 50 acre minimum that the minister talked about. So if you wanted to get in on this project, you need to be able to get 50 acres minimum, which seems very quite high. So let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, and then we go to what do we research. How do we, or what is required so that some of the students we have don't continue to produce workers, but we produce entrepreneurs. Joseph, you want to start us off on that? How do we, you're in that sort of that line. How do we produce entrepreneurs?
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. I think that's a most appropriate question. Before I go into some of the solutions, I want to suggest that one of the disjoint that we're seeing is that information flow across the various age group, as well as the outlook is something that persons are probably not following through their career path or career expo and so on, to be able to recognize that it's not only about agriculture, which is rearing of animals, the cultivation of crops, but the allied services. So whether you go into food safety programs, you go into sustainability programs, you go into entrepreneurship. And I must say that the 4-H has been very instructive in the way they have designed their programs. For example, they have the stimulatory programs for the young ones, the kids. And then they have the youth in agriculture, which is from 17 to 35. And in that cohort, there are a number of very well structured things that people can follow. For example, last year, the 4-H Club launched a program where they have a brochure, a booklet that tells how an individual of the appropriate age can enter the agripreneurship perspective. So the agricultural entrepreneur can follow that path. And online, that booklet exists. It was launched, I think, about October or November of last year. I wondered if in the pandemic it got lost somewhere. But I would encourage young people to take a look at that and to engage the 4-H along those lines, because it has some very worthwhile information that helps us to see a path to success.
Well, thank you for that, Joseph. I'll come back to the rest of what you're saying. Can you put maybe in our chat the link or the information? Because we want to be able to help pass this information on, because that's why we're here. Please continue.
I would also say that food security is one of the most powerful things that a corporation, a country, and a region can do for its people. And if we are unable to feed ourselves, have access, nutritious, among other things, to that type of food, then we are going to struggle. Someone else is going to feed us, and they are going to feed us something that we probably should not. And then we are going to have a different problem. So the One Health approach, where you look at the environment, the human health, the animal health, and the plant health, and so on, is a concept that we have to look at, where us as agriculturalists can go into any and all of those areas. Now, I did talk about financing and land, and that is on the downstream, and that is blocking the youngsters and other farmers. But on the upstream, I do believe that there is a nice pipeline that is getting the students to move. For example, in the secondary education system, we had very well-trained, as a matter of fact, in the Cape and CSEC, agriculture stood out as the #1 subject in terms of the pass rates. And I must put a plug in there for my school. Untitled Technical High School had some of the highest pass rates in agriculture among the top 10. So I am saying on the upstream, we're having a supply that's taking place. But on the downstream, we have to find a way to absorb them. But we also have to give them the information so that they can act accordingly. I must tell you, though, that the average age of the farmer, as we understand it, is under 48.5 years now. And a few decades ago, it was over 60 years old. It was seen as an old person job. It is not so at this time. So I want to put on the table that there are shifts that are taking place, maybe not as fast as we would have liked, but there are shifts nonetheless. So what can we do to accelerate that shift? Get them the land, get them the financing, and obviously the predial loss and the other things are going to be very important as well. But since we're limited to 2, I will stop here and say there are opportunities, so we need to capitalize on it. And I'm going to tell you about a couple other things later too, if when you allow.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I'm going to add, I have the privilege of saying, well, I taught agriculture science at the Untitled Technical High School some years ago. So it's great. We have a question from Dr. Nelson. Dr. Nelson, please go ahead. Can we unmute Dr. Nelson? We'll take your question once we're able to unmute you, Dr. Nelson. Let us talk about research. This was a question from. Yep, go ahead, Dr. Nelson.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, I am really enjoying this discussion, but I have to leave shortly to go on the road. So let me put my 2-cent piece in. I am, this is very, very informative stuff. Very good information coming from all sector. But, the Global Citizens Group has a quotation that says, "Show me a nation that can't feed itself, and I will show you a nation in chaos." All right? And I just love that one because it says so much. Now, a couple months ago, I had a chat with the Minister of Education, and because I know the man personally. And I said to him, because I'm from Northwest Clarendon, where farming is literally dead. And this is a traditionally farming community. And I said to him, Minister, we cannot, as a nation, expect small farmers to find market for their produce. And I guarantee you that if the government should take up the initiative of marketing the produce of the small farmers, say 5 acres or under, 10 acres or under, then you will see a lot more interest in farming. So it's not that the people don't understand the importance of farming. And it's not that the interest in farming is not there. One of the big obstacles for farmers across the nation is the inability to market their produce once they have it. Cabbage rot in the field. Pepper rot in the field when they do farm it. Not enough higglers to buy it from them. The government will not listen, or nothing is happening in that regard. Rather give them some seeds, but rather is not taking their produce from them and finding market for them. I said to the minister, put it in cold storage. You work out the logistics. Don't expect the small farmer to do that. I'm not saying that he shouldn't express interest in learning how to market his stuff. Yes, fine. The School of Agriculture is teaching the kids how to do that. And that's all great stuff. But help to set up the marketing structure and you will see a big turnaround in production. I guarantee you that. But I have a lot of notes here, but we can't go through all of these. Like, you know, and I just want to make that point before I leave the group.
Put some of those in the chat so that we can still address some of those points that you probably want to touch on, but don't have the opportunity. We'll try to get to some of them. You know, it's important though for us. Peter, you have a point? Okay.
Right. There are just so many things that I want to say, but I'll touch them briefly based on the previous comments that were made. Dr. Nelson, I totally agree with you. From time to time, I have farmers calling me, Peter Gay, do you know where I can find market for my cabbage, my lettuce? Because they get the seeds and they plant, but they're just no markets. But one thing though, one of the things that I noticed with our farmers, and we definitely need to educate them, and this is where RADA and other agricultural agencies come in. One of the, can I say, ill practice or bad practice that I think our farmers have is that they wait until their produce is ready before they start finding markets. And that is one of the reasons why they have challenges finding markets for their produce. So everything is ready and harvested all at once. They don't have any storage facilities, and then they end up with a loss. I totally agree also with what Dr. Nelson said. During the pandemic, the government has established various cold storage facilities by partnering with different purveyors and private organizations. So that has significantly helped our farmers in a way, but we definitely need much more of that. So that's it for marketing. I have a question for Mr. Small. Mr. Small, even though you're a fellow panelist, I have a question for you because what you said was really, really interesting. There are various opportunities for young people in the agricultural sector, but it goes back to what I said earlier. Access to information is an issue. If it is that I'm not a clubite, if it is that I'm in rural Jamaica and I'm not very active in the Jamaica 4-H clubs, how is it that I can access this information in order to access the opportunities that are available for young people?
Well, there are a number of ways that the information can be accessed. One is through the various online setup and platform that exist. So if you follow the 4-H clubs, for example, whether their YouTube channel, their Facebook channel, their website, their Clover TV, various WhatsApp information that gets sent out, I am telling you, there's so much information pouring out of the 4-H clubs. I'm not so sure what else they should do. But I'm going on to say, though, that if the young agriculturalist would also reach out to various stakeholders, whether they're in RADA, in 4-H, or otherwise, and try to have the connection power that will cause them to understand and to be availed with the information, then that is a place to go. Remember now that the 4-H clubs has significant reach in every single parish across the island. So wherever you are based, you find your parish officer or you find your parish office among other things. So there are many ways to intersect. And when the roadmap was launched last year, it was a big fanfare that was sent out in the universe.
Yes.
Hope was that it would multiply so that this concern that we're hearing about that particular bit of information would not arise. So feel free after this to reach out to me and I'll help you to connect with whomever you need to connect with.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Joseph. I also know, or I think that the president for the student council at CASE should be on one of the platforms. He's listening. I hope that he'll pass this information on to those who are listening. So the question was asked, what are we researching? And I'm going to start out by saying one of the first things we need to research is to do, if we're entrepreneurs, we need to do market research. The question wasn't based on that. I'm going to give Dr. Marsh and Dr. Myers some time to talk about what should we be researching, or what are you researching as it relates to agriculture? Dr. Marsh, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. This is real interesting. I am learning so much. I know I want to not retire, unretire myself and go back to the university. This is great. What are we researching? We research depending on the question that comes up from whichever source. It might be the farmer, it might be the academician who have a pet project that they want to look into, but discoveries come only when research is done. The unfortunate thing is that research is, as I said earlier, is expensive. And therefore, to do research, you have to have an infrastructure which supports it. It might be grant funds from private industry. It might be government funds. It might be the funds from the agency you work with that they find somewhere that they can allow you to do that. I think the research we're talking about, though, is how do we answer the questions that the farmers have? For example, how do I market my crop? Okay, someone put in the chat that we should approach the farming as a business. So you have a business plan that you know where the product is going before you actually put the seed in the ground. That is important. I'm not sure how well that's going to be done in Jamaica to have that type of contractual arrangement. But we have a very successful tourist industry. If we do the market research on what this industry wants from the farmers, pertaining to quality, pertaining to size, pertaining to quantity, and how often, then the farmers can address that. And I know they can produce the crop these people want. But as I said before, research must be done independent, and it should be done with unbiased, that the information, the research-based information, the extension agent gets to take back to the farmer. He can stake his life on it, that this is what has been developed and this is what the result that you can follow. I'd also like to add, though, we have to get young people into research, and that's going to come from mentoring. Okay, and while at the School of Agriculture, these students should be mentored and start pointing in the direction of research. It's important. I mean, some time back, Jamaica used to boast the T.P. Lecky and the Carl Wellington and the Marcia Rowe. Now, you know, we're fighting to do that, and that is necessary. We have to have our own that we can stand up. So we need to get back to that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marsh. Dr. Myers, you're doing a different research. I myself worked for banana export company some years ago. We're heavily involved in researching different variety of banana that we could plant to replace the ones that were prone to all these different diseases, and we were researching for higher yield. Dr. Myers, can you help answer the question, what are we researching as well? Thank you.
We are researching to find solutions to the production constraints that farmers have, that they have reported. You mentioned about banana. The banana breeding station still functions. They still do their research in terms of identifying banana varieties which are tolerant to the black sickle-tocal. Now we have issues with TRS4, right? This is Fusarium oxysporum, that is a threat in the region, and the banana breeding station has been working with regional partners in order for Jamaica to be prepared for this eventuality. We have been looking at varieties for root and tuber crops, sweet potato, for example. At the research station, we have been looking at improving the quality of our sweet potato. Sweet potato is vegetatively propagated, and over the years, farmers have been planting from the same source. So we have established a clean seed program with regards to sweet potato, cleaning up the material and providing that material to our farmers. There was a holistic approach looking at the entire value chain, and we had stakeholders, Jamaica producers and others who were part of that process, right? And we had our small farmers as well, who benefited from that material. The challenge that we have had is the sustainability. Because, in Jamaica, when a project, comes to an end, there's always a challenge of ensuring that there is continuity. In terms of the other research aspects, we have, as it relates to pest and disease, right? Whereby we have done research in managing our pests. And let me give you some practical examples. Pink hibiscus mealybug, right? A lot of research had taken place in the region with regards to managing that pest, and our system, quarantine, extension, research, had managed to keep that pest out until enough information was really generated from research efforts regionally, right, and extra-regionally, for us to apply that in using biological control in managing the pink hibiscus mealybug. You never heard about anything happening in Jamaica with regards to that pest, and it did come into Jamaica. We have done research, other introductions, red palm mite, that came into Jamaica and into the region. Other countries like Trinidad, they're being affected by that particular pest. But based on the research work we have done to evaluate how this particular pest operates in our coconut system, we were able to identify natural enemies and the role that they were having. And we were able to determine that they were actually helping to reduce the incidence of this particular pest. We did not warrant any chemical intervention. So we have done a lot of work historically and up to recent in terms of the use of biological controls in some of our major cropping systems. The issue of climate change is one where we really need, right, that sort of competence and support in terms of that. The University of the West Indies they have the climate change group, where they have been doing several studies with regards to, sweet potato. Right now, based on projections in changing climate, sweet potato may not be able to be grown in certain areas of Jamaica as compared to where they're being grown now. There are a number of models that have been developed, and I think Dale Rankin is one of them. So you have research that is being undertaken by University of the West Indies. You have applied research being done by the research station. The challenge has been the livestock area, right? Mention was made of TP, Lecky, and others. The thing is that if we go back to JSA, where researchers in the public sector, they were actually lecturers up at JSA. They were
Yes.
lecturers until there was the Ministry of Education took over case, because the college was under the Ministry of Agriculture. And as a result of that, and the programs had changed up, we no longer had that relationship where researchers, the expertise, I saw somebody mention in the chat about where can they get the expertise. That expertise, right, as persons got older, retired, and left the system, it resulted in this big gap in terms of the unavailability of persons to mentor. When I came in 96, most of those persons had already exited the system, right? So therefore, we have a generation of researchers now who require this sort of relationship and mentoring from partnerships, I keep using the word partnerships, with other institutions, researchers in other institutions who have the expertise to further inform how we can actually modernize our agriculture sector. And when I use the word modernizing, I'm not just, hello, I hope I'm not going on too long, but
yes,
I'm not
Dr. Myers.
Conversion to, sorry.
Very, very important, very interesting. There are some other points that we actually need to talk about. We want students to know where they're going to get some opportunities for scholarships. And I know that Dr. Marsh wants to speak to that, Joseph wants to speak to that, but we have two hands that are up. Diana, you have a question or a comment? Brief, please. You're already unmuted.
Yes, yes, I just wanted to, I put most of what I wanted to say in the chat to make it easier, but in a nutshell, what I have found from my experience of 45 years working with farmers in communities is that they're not business people. There's no business approach to anything. And if you don't have a business approach, and that's why our program is called, sorry, Villages as Businesses.
Okay, thank you very much. That is something that we can definitely continue to explore. Daniela, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it was more a question for Mr. Small, attached to Ms. Stewart's question about persons in the rural area. I'm in the countryside in St. Thomas, and I've got my contact for the 4-H, Miss Byfield, and she, every time a program comes up, she knows what I'm doing, she knows what my family is doing. There's 4 of us as children, young persons now, and when a program comes up, she would let us know. My question to Mr. Small, though, was I signed up for the REAP program and another program before that. And when I spoke with Miss Byfield on both occasions, she said that the system was down and she was waiting until the system come up back. But I haven't heard from her again after that. So I haven't gotten any information as to if I'm still on the REAP program to get that training or the other program. So I'm basically stuck. I don't know if I need to sign up back. Other persons have said that they got through, got the training and stuff. So I don't know. Could you clarify, Mr. Small?
What we're gonna do, Daniela, is we're gonna connect you and Mr. Small, Joseph, together and see if we can deal with that. It's no doubt. There's no doubt in our mind that we need greater training. If we want researchers, then we're looking at some postgrad studies. So Ofana is offering postgrad opportunity. Dr. Marsh, you have worked through that. 4-H has been doing that. how do our, and Daniela says, young person, I want you to think of yourself as an entrepreneur. So young entrepreneur, young professional, that's a new image that we actually want from our young professionals going forward, our young entrepreneur. How do students access some of these scholarships that are out there? Where are they? And Dr. Myers, if you know where those scholarships are as well, please tell us. Let us get some of our young professional, our youth getting those scholarships. Where are they? Thanks. You're going to go ahead, Dr. Marsh?
Yeah, I think Dr. Myers wants to say something. Her hand is,
okay.
I think, Dr. Myers, but you're mute.
Okay. No, I was gonna let you go first.
Okay.
And then yes, I'm some information I'm going to.
Okay, good. No problem. Where the scholarships are? That's a very, very good question, because usually you have to be hunting to find scholarship, especially scholarship at American universities that can be used to support international students. A lot of funds are available, but there have to be that networking going on that allows students to know exactly the professor they want to work with. Let me give you an example of what we do, at least when I was involved in the business. I would take a trip down to Case and just walk on the campus and meet up with some of the professors I know and tell them that I just want to look at them students, talk to some students, but nothing formal. And young people would come up to me after getting the information that this person might be interested in them working in his lab. And we have conversations, and that conversation leads to other conversation, leads to work, to them getting acquainted with other professors. And we find money that can help them. The money is not slated as, say, 10 scholarships are available for 10 Jamaican students to do their masters or their undergraduate. One thing that helped us well in getting more students from Case to go through our program is the fact that when Case started doing an associate and a bachelor's, then we were able to get students to do masters in 2 years, and funds that were sometimes not used for support foreign students were then used that they could do their research, because there is a paid job to do their research and get mentoring from the professor. So it's not a scholarship to pay their tuition, but a paid job, and which would have enough funds that they could pay their tuition from also. Money is out there. I would advise the students, know what their interests are. Work to find out as much as possible about the areas that they want to get in. Find out what university they want to attend. Look at their website, find the people who are working in the area they want to be involved with, and contact them. And don't take no as an answer. No means sometimes, or most of the time, that no means I don't have any money today, but tomorrow there might be funds available. So build that network. It worked for us at Delaware State University with recruiting students from all over the Caribbean, Africa. But my biggest bed of recruits come from Case, and of course Dintil, and I know a couple of Dintil guys here, so I feel glad to be a part of your group.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marsh. Peter Gay, Ofana, tell us about that avenue for scholarship and how that has helped you.
All right. Before I even go to our final, it's really a pleasure to see Dr. Marsh and Miss Kimon Gooden. I met them back in 2015, I believe. At the time, I was National Farm Queen. So I was affiliated with the Jamaica Agriculture Society, still is. And through the National Farm Queen program, I got an opportunity. I met Miss Gooden, and I think she connected me to Dr. Marsh. So I had an opportunity to visit Delaware State University. And I remember when Dr. Marsh came to Case and told all the students about the opportunities that were available and the scholarships that were available. And that was an absolutely amazing thing. And also the Jamaica Diaspora Agriculture Taskforce that is led by Ms. Kimon Gooden. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. They were my sponsors. It was actually the National Farm Queen Scholarship that got me to Case. I must begin there. So there are opportunities, but young people, we have to hunt for them and we have to network. And there's something that we call NUF in Jamaica, and I use the term loosely. You have to be NUF, meaning you have to attend this conference, and if there's another conference, then attend that conference, then that's where you network, that's where you get access to information. While I was a student at Case, myself and Chamorro, we were NUF. We were actively involved in almost every activity that took place on campus. It was there where we met Miss Norma Jarrett, who is and has been the president of AFANO. So while we interfaced with Miss Jarrett, she told us about the different scholarships that were available. She told us about the AFANO scholarship. And I decided that I was going to apply for that scholarship. And thanks be to God, I was a deserving student, and I received that scholarship for 2 years. Prior to receiving the AFANO scholarship, I struggled because the National Farm Queen Scholarship, which got me to Case, only paid for the first year of the program. And mind you, I did an associate degree first, but the scholarship only covered the first year of the program. So even if I was going to do the associate degree, the first year was covered, but I was left on my own for the second year. I also had the opportunity, I was NUF again, and liaison with the Jamaica 4-H clubs, and I got the right into scholarship. So all right then, 2 years covered, but then Petergate makes no sense to do the associate degree. Might as well just do 2 more years and do the bachelor's degree. So it was now the 3rd year. I did fairly well. I studied, I did my homework. So my GPA was at a certain level, but there was also a job up for me because I was not one of those 17-year-olds or 18 or even 19 that went to Case. I was a mature student. And this meant that I was not eligible for many of the scholarships that were being offered because I was a mature student. But thank God for the AFANO scholarship, I was eligible. I applied and they looked at my grades, my extracurricular activities, and I got through with that. There was one point where I owed Case almost $500,000 because the years just keep rolling over, and that is when AFANO rescued me. So I have the greatest respect for the Old Farmers Association of North America and Norma Jarrett and all the work that they have been doing. And I must tell you, they are like our fairy godparents, the members of AFANO, because we really don't know them personally, but during our Founders Weekend celebration, they interface with us. They tell us about their experience in years at JSA and COA. And it's really an amazing experience and an inspiring experience to interface with them because they tell us about the challenges that they had then, and they encourage us to keep our eyes on the prize and to aim very, very high. So because of the scholarship, I was able to graduate. I graduated with first-class honors. I was valedictorian. If it was not for the AFANO scholarship, I would not have had that privilege to walk across that stage and collect my degree, because once you are owing at Case, you cannot graduate. And because of the scholarship too, I was focused on getting A's, getting good grades. I didn't have to be worried about, oh my God, how is my tuition fee going to pay? And they paid for the last 2 years of Case for me, which were two very, very critical years. It's the last lap and it gets harder, you have more sleepless nights. So because of the scholarship, I really did not have to worry any at all. And I have the greatest respect for AFANO and the work that they do. And it's really a privilege, to be affiliated with them. And I remain an ambassador for AFANO, and I will definitely pay my dues, not only to AFANO, but to the local association here in Jamaica.
Thank you very much for that, Peter Gay. So we have Dr. Myers. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Myers.
I'd just like to tell Peter Gay that we still have a space at Delaware State. I promised her a scholarship and she didn't take it.
I'm happy to know the offer still. I'm coming, Dr. Marish. I'm coming.
But if agriculture have an ambassador, they have Peter Gay. She is excellent.
Yeah.
She came to Delaware State, spent 2 months, and everybody was impressed and asked me, where do I find such qualified student? She's good.
And qualified students, Peter Gay, as you say, enough. We understand, but we know that qualified students are what these universities are looking for. So Dr. Myers has her hand up, and then we're going to Chad Wade right afterwards. Dr. Myers, please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to briefly share that there is an agency called Scholastic, where they provide this sort of information to students who are interested in finding scholarships. I think in August of this year, they had like a boot camp to expose students who would be interested in knowing where these opportunities are. I personally receive, feedback from scholarshippositions.com, and they're always updating and sending information with regards to scholarship availability across the world for various programs, from bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Right. So, and just to share that, I have benefited also, like Peter Gay, from scholarships, and it does require your participation in terms of knowing exactly what it is that you are seeking to do, what your interests are, and then identifying the universities that would offer the programs that you would want to do, and looking at the scholarship availability for that. And I know in my own personal, journey that I have benefited from UA to UF being eligible and actually being able to get scholarships to fund my studies. So I know that it can be done, and I'm available in terms of persons who may want to, any assistance I can, facilitate in terms of trying to identify and steer and guide. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Myers, because that is one of the reasons why we're here. My own personal story, Dr. Ishmael Binyaya said to me years afterwards, he said, Paul, I didn't know you wanted to go to university. Otherwise, I would have told you about the scholarship. And I would consider myself to be just like Peter Gay, but it never came that way. So I use different means, and we all do. Chad Wade, the floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening. All protocols observed. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
All right. So for myself, just like Peter Gay, I've been one of the fortunate students as well. I have finished case, and up until this point, I haven't paid $1 of tuition out of my pocket. And the truth is, you need to apply yourself as young people, because what persons don't understand, it's not always going to be about who have the best GPA, but it's also about how much you're involved in the school. Since I've been to case, I've kept a study class for any math class, any math course that we do. If it's statistics, if it's if it's physics, I will always keep a study class for classes like those, because I know that not everybody will be quick on the figures. So because I'm a figure person, I always just keep a class. And when I go in a scholarship interview and I explained, I keep a study class every semester, then a scholarship board, they're looking for things like that. how involved are you? What are you doing to uplift your peers? What are you doing to empower people? So for CASE, the scholarships that I've gotten for CASE, I have gotten Hanover Charities. Hanover Charities, I'm an ambassador for Hanover Charities. I have gotten Hanover Charities for 4 years through college. I have Hanover Charities give you 100,000, by the way. After I've gotten Hanover Charities, I've reached out and I've gotten separate scholarship. Separate cover you for an entire year as well. I've reached out and I've gotten JDDB, Jamaica Development Dairy Board. I've gotten their grant. They've given 180,000. I've also gone to the extent where I've applied for path grants. So persons feeling like, oh no, there's no way I can do this. There's no fund. Yes, there's funding institutions out there. Path will give you 100,000 as long as you can maintain that 3.0 GPA. As long as you maintain the 3.0 GPA, you'll get 100,000 per year. So it is just for persons now to apply themselves. Go out and search for it, man. It's out there. So no matter how you feel, don't feel demotivated and feel like, oh, this is not for me, it's not going to work. It will work, trust me. I've gone a semester when I was about to start the semester, I was like, what am I going to do? But I definitely know that it's going to work out. I just had faith that it's going to work out. And when I went up to school, funny enough, but the finance director, she just said to me, Chad Wade, you know, Path had paid 100,000 for you. And I just smiled and I was like, yeah, man, trust God and trust the process and it will work out. So that is all that is all for me, Paul.
Thank you very much for your experience as well. So, you know, we've covered a lot so far. We've looked at the issues that are faced. We've looked at scholarship opportunities. We've looked at entrepreneurship. I really and truly, I am big on, you know, developing oneself. And one of the comments regarding from one of our listeners point out that we don't develop proper business plans. And, you know, there are organizations out there that helps to develop adequate business plans that would allow us to develop farming, do the SWOT analysis, do all the research, business research, so that you have a product that someone needs and that is something that, you know, you're going to make some money from. And not just that, I think that somehow, somewhere along the way, we may have lost some of what we're trying to do, and the need to earn foreign exchange has resulted in us trying to produce so much for export that we're not paying attention to what we can do and bring the level of food security that is actually needed, so that we can reduce some of the spending on what we're doing outside. And when I say outside, we buy all of this. You know, years ago when I worked in banana, we were still bringing in banana from Costa Rica, and we were producing banana, and the argument was, well, we get a good price for it in Europe, so we have to produce it for European standards, which mean that we lost a lot of it by the time it reached there because it was ripe and all these different things. When maybe if we had focused more on the local market, then we would have gotten much more. So, Dr. Myers, I see your hand is up again. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was just mentioning the JBDC, the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, that they can facilitate the development of the business plans and any other needs that the young people will have. They provide that. In terms of, there was something mentioned in terms of marketing. JAMPRO also provides that support. They have done their market analysis and have identified, at least, you know, extra-regionally, where markets are like in the UK, Canada, wherever, for farmers, persons who are interested in exporting certain products. I would encourage you to look at value addition, right? As someone had mentioned in the chat about producing products from plants, the SRC, they have also a business development and incubator to facilitate the development of formulations. I'm just sharing this quickly that I understand, coming from what has been shared by the youth so far, that we probably need a clearinghouse mechanism where all of this information can be easily accessed, because it's actually splintered across several agencies. RADA has an agri linkage system where they actually facilitate farmers, linking them to buyers. There's the system Alex, it was all over the media, where tourism, the tourist industry was actually benefiting from farmers producing for it, right? So there are several initiatives that are being pursued. I guess for Jamaica, some of it we may have taken some time in getting there, but these are initiatives that are being developed. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah.
That is excellent. Dr. Myers, you spoke about, having more of this information housed in one area that students can go to. I don't want us to forget, though, that we're not only addressing students at CASE. We want to ensure that our listeners recognize that there is Elim Agriculture School, there's program at Nakalva, there is a HEART program that deals with agriculture. Also 4-H, and we haven't heard from Joseph about those scholarships, because Joseph worked with primary school, high school, right throughout. So tell us about some of what is available there, Joseph.
Thank you, Professor Lance. I was itching to go, but I was happy that Chadwayne came on and gave an insight. And I want to say that the 4-H clubs in and of itself, when it comes on to grants and scholarships, is probably one of the largest contributing organization per scholarship to persons at all levels across the academic spectrum. So I believe that is an important point to make. So young persons out there, feel free to connect or reconnect or to engage with your 4-H clubs and the various volunteers involved to ensure that the opportunities that are available will be availed of them as well. Unfortunately, right now, the Rio Tinto Scholarship, for example, is a little bit more curtailed than it would have normally been. And that's just a recent event. But I can say that there are a number of scholarship opportunities over the years, and we're hoping that that will continue in the near future. So I had placed in the chat about the roadmap. I also placed in the chat the link to the 4-H clubs, and I'm encouraging persons to become clubites, volunteers, and ambassadors for the agricultural network that the 4-H club is working on, stimulating, encouraging, and it is happening. I want to mention a couple of things before we wrap up, so I'm hoping I'll get a chance to do so. So I'm just notifying you, Mr. Lance.
So we do have a wrap up that is going to come through. Ethelyn is going to be the one going through the wrap up. So we have 2 quick questions from Chanel and Shahida. So,
Thank you.
Evelyn, I think you're the host now. Can you? Okay.
You are too.
Chanel is good to go. Go, Chanel.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Small, for highlighting the opportunities within the Jamaica 4-H clubs. Someone had posted in the chat that they were asking if agriculture was introduced to persons or to students before they get to high school. And I just wanted to comment to say that through the 4-H clubs, we have introduced agriculture to students from even the early childhood institutions, where we encourage them to participate in competitions, agricultural related. So we have been trying to encapsulate all students right across from their babies all the way up to university levels. And we encourage persons to always advertise Rio Tinto scholarship. We understand that a lot of persons don't know that these scholarships are available. And so we have to do our part in how we advertise these things and get the information out there, as Peter Gay had said. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much, Chanel. And clearly, what we're seeing here is agriculture is not punishment, but it's actually something that is encouraged. Wonderful. Shahida, please go ahead.
Hello, good night. Well, I don't have a question. I'm only going to share my story. I am a recipient of the Rio Tinto's grant and also a scholarship offered through the Jamaica 4-H clubs in partnership with Earth University. I am a graduate. I graduated last year. I received the Rio Tinto scholarship while I was attending Dental Technical High School. So I'm also a graduate of Dental. So I have to mention that because we have some alumni, past teachers present. So I'm repping for, may I say, the best agricultural institution at the secondary level. I can boast that right now. And so I'm so very grateful. I've been a part of Jamaica 4-H clubs since I was 9 years old. And I am just so happy to be giving back at this time to the club for all that I have received and continuing to participate in whatever activities that are available, whether it be in my parish or outside of my parish. The other day I was participating in an event held in Trelawney because when I returned home, because we have to do an internship when we study at Earth University, I decided to return home in 2019 and I was working with Trelawney 4-H clubs for my internship, for the volunteer section of my internship. And it was so rewarding and fulfilling to be able to be collaborating with persons right across the island. And right now, I am also on the International Youth Committee for 4-H internationally. So I implore all persons that are able to get connected through 4-H and all other agricultural entities, please do so because agriculture is extremely important. I don't want to be long because we're supposed to be wrapping up. So that is just my bit. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much for that. I am going to say thank you all. I think that we have scratched the surface of what of why we have this forum. We look forward to finding the information and helping young professionals, youth, to access these grants, to stop thinking that they can only leave university and be workers, but be entrepreneurs. And that is part of what JD Tan and this Agriculture and Climate Task Force is working through. I'm going to take my leave. I'm going to turn over to Evelyn. She's going to give you all opportunity for parting words. Evelyn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Paul. Wow, what an evening. Oh, wow. I'm lost for words, but I'm not going to take up your time. I'm just going to ask each panelist just to take 1 minute to, kind of surmise something and then send out information. Send out information for people who are listening. There are a lot of people online and they're listening and they need information. They need information. So I'm going to start off with you, Mr. Small, please. Just 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Ethlyn. I'm not sure I'm going to share information since I put the things in the chat, but I want to say 2 key things.
Okay.
Participated in an effort to cause youth to get lands in the agro parks recently. And the 4-H, along with the AIC, is working on those projects to get land in the hand of the youths to take care of that downstream issue that I mentioned earlier. And on the other side, I want to mention that on this call, I'm seeing some persons that were recently appointed as what are called youth agro-vets. So there's an agro-vetsy council that will now advise the Minister of Agriculture with the youth input involved. Just last week, they were actually so appointed. And I can see in the chat quite a few of them online. So I want to mention that so people are aware that from the policy perspective, we're going to have the youths influencing where we go, and the youths are the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Gay?
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for affording me an opportunity to speak on behalf of our youth. You know, so often our voices are not heard, but thank you so much for this platform. Keep up the good work. I want to let our viewers know that in order to access the Ofana Scholarship, you can visit Ofana's website, www.ofana.com, or just go into Google and type in Ofana, O-F-A-N-A, or Farmers Association of North America, and that will lead you straight to the page. I also want to use this opportunity to invite all of us to an event. So Ofana will be having a fundraiser. It is called Cultural Extravaganza, and it will be on December 11th, 2021. It's a good time to have some fun, given all that we, have gone through over, the couple of months. And I must tell you that this is a fundraiser. So all proceeds will go to scholarships that will be given to deserving K students. So it's for a worthy cause. I have put the information in the chat, so please ensure that you call the number that is there in order to find out more information about it. The tickets are just for $30, not a lot of money, and it's for a worthy cause. So just continue to contribute to the sector in different ways that you can, panelists and viewers, and let us play our part in having a very robust agricultural sector in Jamaica.
Thank you. Dr. Marsh?
Very good. I don't want this night to finish. I'm enjoying myself strangely. So that's very, very good. Today, I think someone said the president of the student council is from cases on. If that person is still on, I want to let them know that Delaware State is still continuing the work I started about giving summer internship to students, and they'll be on the campus early next spring to recruit students for that summer internship, which would be a 2-month paid internship. And as Peter Gay say, you get to look at agriculture within Delaware. Thanks again, Diaspora Task Force, for inviting me. I'd like to tell the young people, if you're thinking about or you are involved in agriculture presently, you have made a good choice. Continue it. I'd also like to let you know that you should have fun while you prepare yourself for the rigors of later development and later activities within agriculture. Make sure you have fun, because when you start looking back at it, you'll have better memories and enjoy it more. So please do that. This is good. Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Myers?
Yes, I would just also like to thank the Diaspora Task Force for inviting me to participate. I just wanted to encourage our young people online that although leaving, college, leaving case, for example, you may not initially find a job in terms of ag science, but based on the value chain, even if you end up in the finance sector, you can actually find a way in terms of how can we find opportunities to finance agriculture. development, just to encourage them that even in terms of ICT, how they can actually apply that technology in terms of the sector. So for them to think more widely than they are now. So I just want to encourage the youth with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicola?
Greetings.
Nicola, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me? Yes. Again, I'd just like to thank you for inviting me to this forum. It's wonderful to see so many young people that actually going into agriculture, even though we wonder if they are, but they are. And as Dr. Myers was saying, there's a lot in the value chain. There's so much opportunities. And also, of course, encouraging people to look at the organic sector, because we do need a lot of help in this sector. There's lots of opportunities there from research and development, the technology areas, everything. So there's a whole other opportunity opening up. So I'm encouraging everyone to look in that direction. And also to mention that we do give out scholarships every single time we do an organic farming course or a permaculture course. There is opportunities there. There's a course that's coming up in February 22, starts on the 13th of February. And we have about 1 or 2 scholarships there for people that want to take that. So they just have to get in touch with us and apply. And we've given out many, many scholarships over the years for people who want to get into organic farming and permaculture. So thanks again. And it was wonderful to be on, to be part of this group. And I hope we have many more.
Yeah, thank you. Daniela?
Hi,
Daniela?
thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the program. I've learned a lot. I also want to thank Auntie Nicola. I've benefited from her organic and permaculture scholarship, and it really has helped me a lot. My family is all about natural and organic farming, both in bees and crops. So thank you very much. I want to leave with one of my favorite quotes, just by saying to my peers, start with what you have, start with where you are, and start now. That is one of my favorite quotes. And thank you again.
Okay, thank you so much. Shamora? Are you there? Okay, seems like she has left. Okay, just to round up, I want to say a big thank you to everyone, all the panelists. You've been amazing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for basically everything. Thank you for putting up with us as well. So, Dr. Marsh, thank you, Dr. Myers, thank you, Nicola. Peter Gay, you surprised me after our conversation this evening. And yes, you have surprised me. But just to round up, there were a couple of things that were highlighted this evening. And, one of the things that Peter Gay says this evening was you have to be enough to get involved as a youth or as a young person. And I'll be honest with you, I agree with you, totally agree with you. Because I remember my days back in CASE, because I'm a grad of CASE as well, also a recipient of Forest Scholarship. And I used to be the president of the 4-H club there as well. So I used to be one of them nuff one, Peter Gay. So I know what you're talking about. You have to be nuff. Be everywhere. So yes, but there are some people who are not nuff, but they can do it as well. But you also mentioned something today. You said scholarships, being out there and people not knowing. Having listened to some of the conversation this evening, I don't know. It seems like if it has changed because back in my days in CASE, there used to be a lot of scholarships, but we were never told. They were never advertised. I would
Yeah.
just see people getting up. To be honest with you, I'm not bashing anybody, but it used to be from a staff level, you know. So we'd be there, you know, trying to figure out the next move, like yourself, Peter Gay. How am I going to
Yes.
pay my tuition? What's going to
Yes.
happen to me? You won't graduate. Nothing's going to happen. And you'll be shaking out of your boots. And then the next thing you know, you'll see somebody get up. Oh, I'm going to Tuskegee. I'm going to here. And I'm going to, I'm like, you know, but anyway, so
Yes.
the information needs to be out there. It needs to be on a equal footing, not just for some people. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today, to make sure that
Exactly.
everyone gets a chance,
That is
not
true, Ms.
just some
Thomas.
people. Go
That
ahead,
is
Peter
so
Gay.
true. Thank you. That is so true. I think Shamora was trying to come in, but I think the host has to give her the opportunity
Okay.
Ethlyn has
And,
to unmute her.
Right. So she was trying to speak, but she was having challenges. But Shamora has a very interesting story, and I'm sure where scholarships are concerned, and I'm sure she'll share it with you if you allow her to unmute. But I'm happy the council president is here. So I hope that you will challenge administration to provide students with the information regarding scholarships. I must tell you that I went to the Dembe Agricultural Show and I stopped at the booth. I don't remember exactly which organization it was. And the one of the persons there said to me, you know what, I've been trying to reach out to Case because I have a scholarship. They had agricultural scholarships, and those were offered to students at University of the Technology and NCU. So the information is sometimes woefully lacking. So I hope that it is something that will be addressed. There are scholarships available, but sometimes that information really doesn't, reach a student. So I really hope that
absolutely. So just 1 minute, Shamora. I'm going to give you an opportunity here to say quickly what you got to say. Shamora, you back?
Good night, everyone. And thanks again. I've been trying to speak all evening, but I've been encountering some challenges, but quite an informative meeting here. And I know that though we are addressing situations in agriculture, I'm positive that somebody has been empowered. And I know that there's a different insight, there's a different perspective to a lot of things. I have benefited from scholarships and I am grateful. And I just want to say to somebody out there who is listening to me that it's never how you start, it is how you finish. And just wait your turn and things will happen in your advantage. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So in closing, Joseph, thank you as well. Okay. So in closing, it's just for us to, to take note that, young people are actually interested in agriculture. They want to do more. They want to stay in the sector. They want to go further. But the financial challenge is there. We also have teachers online here. So I do hope the teachers will take this information back. I do hope people who are here will plug into the universities, the colleges, the secondary schools, and let them know there are opportunities out there. Money should not be an issue, right? And we should take charge and take up all these opportunities. I want to say a big thank you to Cheryl, Andrea, Paul. You've done a fantastic job. And, we're looking forward to continue the conversation. So thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. God bless.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
A wonderful night, the rest of it.
Good job, Paul.